are not filed. They're not reported, you know, and so we'll talk about that. Here's a little bit. This picture just cracks me up, and which is really sad because it shouldn't. I mean, this poor lady, right? But do you think she already saw it, or is she's about to look? I can't
Hard to
tell.
say.
I know. So
I think she already saw it.
that's
She
what
was like, oh no.
Jennifer, that's what a lot of people say. I can't decide, but a lot of people say, oh no, she just looked and she's like just disgusted or something. So,
Jennifer, I love the way you said, oh no.
right. So this is your true exhibitionist, right? So this is a word that's misused out on the street. Sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, she's such an exhibitionist. And I guess out on the street, it's fine. It works, right? And people know what you're talking about when you say that. In the psychology world, this is what we're talking about, okay, when we say an exhibitionist. So this is obviously this poor lady, she knocked on the door. I guess she's trying to get a statement from him, and she just happened to knock on the wrong door. And this guy was like, here's my chance, so we've had some flashers in El Paso. We hear sometimes of them being caught. So you can't do this. This is against the law. You're really going to get in trouble if there happens to be a young person standing there, right? So don't do that. This one, voyeurs, they have this picture from the book. Now I would really, are they calling him a voyeur? I mean, but what is she doing out in public, bathing, unless this is her backyard and he's peeping? I don't know. But anyways, he's watching this lady, bathe, I guess. And so, like I said, undressing. So they're very common in fitting rooms, watching into windows, having cameras in the bathrooms and things like that. So those are your voyeurs. Okay, again, pretty hard to catch, but it is possible. Here's the obscene phone calls. We call them a scatolophiliac, scatologia. Scatolophiliac. So these are people who like to call, kind of the same idea with a exhibitionist. They seem to become aroused by the disgust. If someone shows fear and shock and disgust, that just makes it all the better. Okay. All right. Okay. Before I get to the pedophilia, I want to ask you something. So we have said that it's a majority of men, right, that get caught and have these paraphilias. I'm going to challenge you real quick. Do you think it's because no one would tell on a woman? Like if a girl called up a guy and started saying sexual things and breathing heavily, do you think that male would be disgusted? If a girl flashed a guy, do you think he would be disgusted that he would go and call the police? If the roles were reversed in Rebecca and Jennifer's instances, where it was a guy sitting next to the window seat and it was a girl that was pressing up on him and rubbing his leg, I don't know, right? Even the transvestic fetishism. If you went home and your male significant other was wearing girls' underwear and a bra, you might get grossed out by that. But guys, if guys come home and the girl's laying there and she's got his boxers on and his tie on and masturbating, is he going to become disgusted? Or would he become aroused, right? So I don't know if there's a kind of I don't know if double standard is the best way to put it, but do these things are they reported because it's men doing them, and women, you get a pass because you do that, right? I mean, even in the workplace, if a girl does something to a guy, is he going to say something? Is he going to report it, right? Are her jokes, are her comments allowed because she's a female?
I think
We
those
can
are
even,
worthwhile questions to consider, for sure.
yeah,
Yes, I would tend to say that, you know, socially, no, it wouldn't be reported. On the other hand, I think you could take an example like exhibitionism, for example, and that's some like hard data, right? Although
right,
maybe it's not. I don't know, because but I know, you know, if I and then I would sort of challenge that. Like when you look at that picture of that exhibitionist guy, right? That's
uh-huh,
like an older middle age slash old man, right?
right,
Probably in
right,
his 50s. Objectively, culturally in this world, not considered attractive, right?
yes,
Like we can probably agree on that.
yes,
So, you know, like you could take me, for example. I'm in my early 40s. I don't look the way I did when I was 25, where if I like walked around naked, there may be like people who, men at least, who might not have been offended by that. And by the way, I would never do this.
right.
Just to be clear,
No,
I
but
mean, we all have to know. Okay, I just want to get that out there.
yeah,
But
I
I mean,
got
if
you.
I were to do the same thing right now, it would probably cause disgust
Yeah,
in a 25-year-old man, because my body is not something that's seen as valuable as it was once, you know. And would that warrant a phone call? Probably,
right.
you know, like
I,
probably somebody would at least call and maybe concerned about my well-being and the well-being of the public. The
right,
fact that that doesn't seem to happen, and the flip side does, could be a social thing, but it
right.
also could be just sort of objective hard data that that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, yeah. I am so thankful that you went there, because that was going to be my next challenge.
Oh,
Was which is awesome, you know, and it's a hard thing to say, and some people don't like hearing it, but it's something that needs to be considered. And you definitely said it way more eloquently than I could have. But do we not report things if we find the person attractive?
right.
And I know that's not a fun thing to say, and we don't even necessarily need it just to be physically attractive. Like if you like the person, and this kind of gets into the sexual harassment thing, especially like at work. If you like the person and you find the person attractive, if they say things to you, are you more accepting of what they say because you give them the pass because you think they're attractive? Do people who you don't think are attractive, are they the ones you report? Right? And so, and I 100% agree with you. I mean, you think of Mardi Gras, right? All these young girls that are flashing and stuff like that. You know, if I had done that again, I agree with you. When I was 25, you know, probably no, I did that now, there'd probably definitely be a different reaction out of people. So, you know, does this guy, just like you said, is he going to get called on because he's not what society deems as attractive, compared to if it was this, you know, young, good looking thing standing there, you know, would we be like, hey, right? Would we have a different reaction? I don't know. I don't know. And that's definitely something that we need to think about. I'm not saying it's okay. It's not okay if it was a young guy doing that. It's just something to think about, right?
I think it's really important to think about. I can also say that it doesn't matter if somebody flashes me. I'm like, whoa, that's like I just no.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so let's see. Oh no. Okay, let's go over this part. Where am I doing? Where is it? From current slide. There we go. Okay, so pedophilia. This is a person who is sexually attracted to prepubescent children, Okay, there are different types. There's a hebephilia, which is attracted to like pubescent age children. So right around 12, 13, 14. When we hear pedophilia, I know it's a catch-all term that we hear out on the street, but there are technical differences between them. I know people do not like it when we say this. This was a big thing that went around, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. You might still hear it from some of your family members. We're not trying to make people, we're not trying to give a pass to pedophiles. Just through education, we're just trying to explain it. Doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's okay. We're just trying to explain it. A pedophile is somebody who is attracted to children, just like you are attracted to men or you are attracted to females. It just is. I don't know why it happens. They most report that they don't like it. Most report that their feelings came on around puberty, just when everybody else starts getting sexual feelings for people. Theirs starts then also, and they find that they are attracted to children. There are many pedophiles who never cross the line and touch a child. Someone who does do that is what we call a child molester. But not all child molesters are pedophiles, and not all pedophiles are child molesters. Not all pedophiles act on that feeling that they have because they know it's wrong. And many child molesters do not technically classify as a pedophile because they might have been drunk. They might have just did it because opportunity. They might do it because they're more of an abuser and it's about control. And they're not necessarily attracted to little kids. So that's, again, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Just that is the definition of a pedophile. Okay. Let me show this and I'll come back. Okay. So here, there are many people who don't act on it. There are many people who don't necessarily like kids. They're just drunk jerks, right? Under the influence. Most child abuse, most sexual abuse is a direct result of substance abuse. Okay. Now these people in here, the orange, these are your bad people. Okay. These are your bad people. They like little kids and they've chosen to cross that line. And these people, you are going to have a very hard time controlling or fixing, if you want to think of it that way. Their chance of recidivism or perpetrating again is very high because that's who they're attracted to. It's like me all of a sudden telling you, you're not allowed to be attracted to men. You're not allowed to be attracted to women. Could you change that? So these people, as soon as they touch a child, they need to be on the registry, they need to be in jail, they need to be monitored. Okay. Not all of these are pedophiles. I just want y'all to know that. Okay. There is a group, NAMBLA, North American Man-Boy Love Association. It's a real group. They even have a bulletin or a newsletter, this young boy on there. They are big. There's technically nothing against the law for them being in the group. Their newsletter even is very careful never to do anything discriminate, or not discriminate, or like incriminating. But they lobby, they fight for, they believe that the age of consent should be lower. They say that young, adolescents do know what love is, that they should be allowed to express that. So that's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, sure is.
It's crazy.
I just want to point out, based on our just a conversation a couple minutes ago, there is not, it does not appear to be a North American woman girl love association.
Yes. And think of all the cases, right? Think of all the cases. I mean, we don't really hear about it in the news too much because we would become bored with it. But every day there are older men that molest young girls, right? I mean, it is daily, and the numbers would shock you, right? What we hear in the news, though, are your sensational stories. And this is where we get a man and a boy, right? You think of, was his name Sandusky, I think, from up at Penn State, right? Those stories really sell. And also the stories that sell are when it's an older girl and a young boy. Those become sensationalized in the news. And just because it is rare, right? It is rare. And I've sat around and I've heard plenty of guys joke and say things like, man, why would that guy ever tell, that teacher was hot? Or, why would that kid, rat her out or whatever? Or I'm so sure, how can he be molested? I'm sure he liked it. Right. So we have these ideas, and it is, like you said, in society. I mean, if a teenage boy is having sex with this young, pretty hot teacher that he has, is it likely that he's going to say something?
Right.
So, yeah. This is just, usually, right, an adult male, but obviously we do have female sexual offenders too. They do exist, usually with a younger child. And it does not matter if the child did it willingly. It does not matter. It is still considered technically non-consensual because they are not of legal age and they cannot consent to that. They are not allowed to sign legal papers. Therefore, they're not allowed to enter into a legal contract. They view sex as a legal contract between consenting adults. Okay, so if they are not of right mind to consent because of their age, it doesn't matter. It's non-consensual. This is where we also get into if they're too drunk, or if they are, mentally disabled in some way. Okay, if they do not have legal rights where they can give legal consent, you cannot have sex with them or whatever, even if they say yes. Most are touching, things like that. Of course, our worst ones is when it's penetrative, right? You can have intrafamilial within the family and extrafamilial, okay? Most perpetrators are known to the child, are known to the family, are known to the person, okay? Very uncommon to have just a random stranger, okay? Ladies, this is even for you with, sexual assault or rape. It's very uncommon that it would be like a stranger, okay? It's usually going to be somebody you know, which is horrible, right? Here's the hebephile. Like I had said about they're right about puberty. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. 12, 13, 14. Okay. Obviously, pedophiles can be homosexual or heterosexual. That doesn't, matter. That doesn't change. Usually heterosexual, it's male on a young female. Okay. But of course, the opposite does exist too. All right. These are groups or clubs or organizations that are out there for pedophiles to get involved with. Their support groups, right? This one's called the Before You Act, and this one is called the Virtuous Pedophiles. Again, I am not advocating for pedophiles. I'm not. It's wrong, right? But that said, you know, I guess they can't control what they like. I understand that part of it, you know. I get it. I wish it wasn't like that. I kind of feel bad for them, you know, that's what they're attracted to. And I commend those that get into a group to try and help themselves so that they don't do that to children. You know, I think that takes a big person to join a group like that. That's something that is so taboo, you know, so wrong. I mean,
I agree.
right? I mean, to be able to admit that's huge. And so, yeah, anyways, I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, thank you, Rebecca. You know, our zoophiles. All right. Kinsey Institute, Kinsey data, 8% of men and 3.5% of women have had at least one sexual contact with an animal. That's shocking to me.
That is really shocking.
Right? If you notice this one, I mean, this is in a building. This is like architecture. This is, someone carved this. And if you notice over here, right?
Holy crap.
Yeah, right? It's pretty amazing, huh? So this isn't, zoophilia is not a new idea. It's obviously been around for a long time. Necrophilia, again, they're saying fewer than about 200 cases ever reported. That could be drastically underreported because, again, how do you know, right? Here we have a picture of Dahmer. Kind of have a hard time with putting Dahmer here, but that's just me personally. He, you know, they say he did do things with the bodies. I don't know. I feel like or maybe he's just so complex. You know, Dahmer, if you remember, or if you don't know, he infamous serial killer, would go out to clubs, drug the young, he liked younger men, young men, and we get them back to his room or apartment or grandma's house, and have sex with them when they're alive, and then they would pass out or whatever, and he would kill them. He would dismember them. He enjoyed that, taking them apart. When he was arrested, there were several freezers with body parts. He's a fascinating case. If you ever hear or watch a documentary on him where he's talking, not the fake ones, when he's talking, you will really hear that very chilling antisocial personality. He literally has no remorse. He had a head in a box under his bed for a while, and his dad was calling him and saying, you know, you need to open up this box. Your grandmother wants to know what's in there. And Dahmer said that his dad and his grandma thought that there were like girly nudie magazines in there. But he was so upset about it because he knew he was going to lose the head. Like, that's what he was upset about, right? That he wasn't going to have this toy anymore. Not that he would be caught, not that it was wrong that he had it, you know, anything like that, just that he wasn't going to have it. But I guess they classify him as a necrophiliac. There's technically two different types of necrophiliac. There's those that kill a person in order to obtain a body, which is where I guess you could fit Dahmer in. And then there's people who are just, you know, cruising along and then they happen to find a dead body and then they're attracted to it. So they wouldn't kill somebody in order to get a body. They just, you know, once they find one, I guess you would say those people probably work in morgues and funeral homes, because I don't know where you come across dead bodies too often. So that's that. And I'm sorry to laugh about it and make light of it. It is obviously a horrible disease, you know, for those individuals. I just put this here, or this is in here, autoerotic asphyxia. Asphyxia is strangulation, right? Asphyxia, sorry. And autoerotic meaning, you know, like masturbation, right? So sometimes they like to choke themselves while they're masturbating. David Carradine is one in which was found hanged. And, you know, usually they'll list it as suicide, but it was suicide probably by accident. And we also say, like, Michael Hutchinson, he was the lead singer of INXS, was also probably one of these cases.
Really?
Yeah. And here's the thing. The only way you know is they usually they're hanged, they've hung themselves, but they don't have clothes on, right? Most people who are depressed and they're going to commit suicide and hang themselves, they don't get themselves all hooked up and then take their clothes off or pull down their pants, right? So usually when that happens, it was an accidental. And yeah, that's what is said about Michael Hutchinson. So
Interesting. I remember when he killed himself. I had not heard that part of it. I was a big fan.
yeah, I know. I love INXS. So let's see. Oh, sex offenders. Okay, who's going to get, you know, these are those that get caught, right? This is, you know, whether they call it recidivism. This is who's going to recommit or commit again. We actually have very few sex offenders commit a crime again once they're released. Now, of course, you won't believe that if you watch the news, because the news is going to make a big deal if someone got out and then they went and did it again, right? Because that sells, it's sensational. But just so you know, most people don't. You know, most of them do not reoffend. Those that do, those that you're really going to worry about, obviously, if they're antisocial, if they are against society, if they have no remorse, then this is your particularly bad person, right? They don't care. You know, the atypical sexual interest, right? Those that are just kind of far out there, and it's their thing, man. It's what gets them off, and trying to get that out of somebody is very hard, if not at all possible. Or impossible, sorry. And then prior offenses, oops, I didn't mean to do that, that involve, oh, I can't get it off now, that involve violence, okay? And you could argue that maybe that person is kind of an antisocial type of person anyways. I noticed I have a chat, let's see. Oh, there's a show on Hulu called A Teacher that talks about a teacher. Huh. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I already watched it and it was quite interesting.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'll have to check.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
It's a really I think that's with a teacher. But I mean, it's a really good show. I mean, I was a little bit skeptic, you know, because it's a really
Yeah.
touchy like subject to talk
Yeah.
about. But I think they did it right. I
Yeah.
think it was okay.
Okay. Huh. I don't know. I'll have to check it out and see which one, what it is. All right. So, you know, why people get paraphilias, I don't know. And this is going to be just like any other mental disorder. You know, we have a really hard time right now figuring out some of the mental disorders. Is there a genetic explanation? So kind of that biopsychosocial, right? Is there a biological explanation for it? Is it just purely psychological, where did they learn that behavior? Is it social? Is it, you know, just from watching media? Is it from porn exposure? Is it, you know, I don't know. And whoever can figure that out, you know, you're going to change the world, right? They do find that, you know, we can have some perhaps genetic explanation here, like some father-son explanation, and who knows, you know, maybe so. Brain anatomy, right? They say does kind of change. I think if you saw on the, I didn't go over it, but on the pedophilia, you do tend to have people that are just kind of lower intellectually. We always want to be careful with that one though, because you could say that across all people who commit crimes, that they tend to have a lower IQ. And so we sometimes say, is it just because they got caught, right? Are they have a low IQ and so they're the ones that got caught? How many people out there that have a high IQ that don't get caught? So you want to be a little bit careful with that one, where they say about the low intelligence. You know, and could it be learned? Are they conditioned? If you watch porn a lot, you know, are you getting kind of conditioned to like certain things? And this is a fascinating study that was done. This is classical conditioning. If you remember Pavlov, right? A dog's going to drool over the food, ring the bell, nothing happens. You pair the food and the bell together. The dog is drooling over the food, but he's learning that the bell indicates food. So therefore, when you ring the bell, eventually he will drool over the bell. Here's a study where they hook this guys, not just one guy, multiple guys, up to a contraption that can measure the circumference of the penis so they know when it's erect. Obviously, they take heterosexual guys, they show them images, he's going to become erect, right? Show him some inanimate object that means nothing to him, he's going to have no erection. You pair the two images together enough, he's becoming aroused because the girl is there, but he's learning, right? Eventually, you show him just the piggy bank, and sure enough, he gets aroused. So these are pretty classic studies of kind of, they're kind of shocking, right? That they can do this, cause this guy ultimately to have a fetish over a piggy bank, right? And so we think that could be happening as well, without someone's knowledge, that they're becoming kind of conditioned to like certain things. You know, a lack of being able to identify with other people, perhaps, right? You can't get anybody your age, you can't get anybody, you know, that likes you or something like that. So you turn to something else. You know, do they like it because it feels good, right? You get dopamine, you become addicted to it, just like you can become addicted to other, you know, drugs or alcohol or shopping or chocolate or gambling, anything that raises dopamine. You know, hypersexuality, obsessive compulsive disorder, you know, these are things obviously that can lead to a paraphilia just because of the nature of what we're dealing with, right? Somebody who's hypersexual, who needs it all the time, probably are going to start expanding and looking for different things to always get them off, kind of like a one-up, if you think of it that way. You know, OCD, these are just people who, for whatever reason it is, that anxiety that they feel, they find relief in behaviors that they do. Usually we see behaviors like washing hands, counting, tapping, things like that. But, you could certainly see that they might do things like sexual behaviors and so on. Okay. Hoarders, also fall within the OCD, right? So they keep stuff, they keep things. So there's a lot of different behaviors that they could do that seem to, they try and reduce that anxiety. Obviously, a cycle of abuse could certainly be an explanation for some of the paraphilias. This is just trying to, how can we do this? Obviously, most are not going to go in and seek treatment on their own. These are going to be the ones that got caught, that have a victim, they got into the legal system in some way. Behavior therapy obviously is going to work. I don't really agree with aversion therapy, but I guess if it was done in a certain way, so you want to stop someone from liking, I don't know, animals. Well, you show them an animal and then they become aroused or something, and then you try a behavior, or you give them a shock, or you shame them in some way so that eventually they no longer become aroused from that stimulus. Cognitive therapy, I think, would be some really good ways to go about this. We absolutely do not recommend like conversion therapy. We're not trying to change people. That's why I don't really agree with aversion therapy. But if it's done, I guess, in a humane way, then maybe it works. But really, there's not much evidence that shows that any kind of therapy is going to help paraphilias. So that's, I guess, not good news. This is trying to help mostly your pedophiles, giving them Depo-Provera shots, giving them SSRIs. We know antidepressants reduce sexual libido, so trying to give them things like that so they don't have so much testosterone, they don't have so much sexual drive, may work. Surgical castration, we don't do this here, but it has been proven to be effective because they no longer now get testosterone, right? We know testosterone is the huge driving force behind sexual libido. And that's it. I went way over. I was like 27 slides and we did an hour and a half. Are there any questions or comments or concerns?
No.
No? Okay. All right. I know I need to do something. I'm going to find that video and I'll put it up. All right. So you guys can watch it. I know I need to try and do something else as far as like a homework grade so you guys can have other grades other than just the exams, although everybody's doing well in this class, which makes me feel good. That's good. I know this is a fun, interesting class. So I mean, maybe not by this modality, but usually the content is interesting. So I guess that's it. And I guess I'll see you guys next week, hopefully, if my computer decides to get its act together.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Look forward to seeing whatever comes up on Blackboard for that. And this chapter was really interesting. Oh, hey, hi.
Hi. There's that. There's that now. Yeah, it's an interesting chapter. So and really all of them from here on out, these are like the best chapters. So yeah, I'll post the video. Maybe I'll just do like a discussion board thing where you guys can kind of talk about it, and then that'll be our homework assignment. Okay.
Awesome.
So okay, well, cool. Okay. You guys have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.